This first question is testing us on the formula for the gradient, and we just need to remember that the equation of a gradient is change in y divided by change in x. So gradient equals change in y divided by change in x. We already know the gradient, so we're working backwards. So 3 equals 15 minus 9 divided by d minus 5. And we have to solve this equation. Okay. So there's different ways to do this, but the best way is to remember the subject is at the bottom, flip both sides upside down. So I get 1 over 3 equals d minus 5 divided by 15 minus 9. And I already know 15 minus 9 is 6. Then I times both sides by 6. So I get 1 over 3 times by 6, which is
2.
Exactly 2 equals d minus 5. Whoops. So therefore d equals 2 plus 5, which is 7.
I did it this way. Why just did
Yeah, that's fine. There's different ways to do it. If the thing's at the bottom, you can always flip it. It just works if you get stuck. Can you try this one?
3 and
Yeah, so we have to make both lines in the form y equals mx plus c. And even in like the inequalities question, we had to do that. So this one, we can write it as 3y equals 9x minus 5 by adding 9x and subtracting 5 from both sides. And then we get y equals 9 over 3x minus 5 over 3, rather than all divided by 3. And then you can write y equals 3x minus 5 over 3. That tells you the gradient. And so does this. So therefore, that's enough to show that they're parallel. Try the next one. So we know that the line is a y equals mx plus c line. And we know the gradient, the y-intercept is 6. So I could write y equals mx plus 6. That'll get me 1 mark, and another mark is for working out the gradient. There's 2 ways to do it. Yeah.
Wait. Plus 2.
Oh no, that's the x-intercept. The y-intercept is minus 6. Whoops, I also made a mistake. I wrote plus 6. I was meant to write minus 6. Okay. There's 2 ways to work out the gradient. I taught you the shortcut way, but let's try the proper way. So I'll pick 2 coordinates. 2, 0. And 1 minus 3. The change in y is 0 minus 3. And the change in x is 2 minus 1.
Okay.
Okay, which is 3 over 1. But also, like you said, every time I go across by 1, I jump up by 1, 2, 3. If I go across by 1, I jump up by 1, 2, 3. So the gradient is 3. Y equals 3x minus 6 is my final answer. So for this one, we know that the line is perpendicular. Whenever a line is perpendicular, the gradient is a negative reciprocal. The gradient of line 1 is 3. So therefore, the gradient of line 2 must be minus 1 over 3. So the equation of line 2 is in the form y equals minus 1 over 3x plus c. Y equals mx plus c with the gradient as minus a third. Then, to work out the point c, the y-intercept c, we sub in a coordinate, for example, 9 and 5. So 5 equals minus a third times 9 plus c. Simplified down to y equals minus 3 plus c. So c equals 5 plus 3, which is 8. So the final answer is y equals minus a third x plus 8. We have to get rid of the coordinates as well. Did you get 8? Good. Next one, very similar.
Yeah.
So let's first work out the gradient of the line L. So y equals 4 over 3x plus 7 over 3. So therefore, the gradient of the perpendicular line is minus 3/4, the negative reciprocal. So we know the equation of that line is y equals minus 3/4 x plus c. And in order to work out the c, we sub in our coordinates, a. So we get minus 5 equals minus 3/4 3 plus c. Minus 5 equals, make that over 1 and times them. So minus 9/4 plus c. And then you got to here, c equals minus 5 plus 9/4, but we have to actually work it out.
Plus negative 9.
Oh, I moved it over to the other side, so I added it.
Oh,
And I get minus 5/1, and then I have to do a common denominator. So I get minus 20 plus 9 minus 11/4 as c. And then my final answer is y equals this one, minus 3/4 x minus 11/4. Okay. So we have a line perpendicular to PQ, and it has this equation. So the gradient of the line PQ is, the gradient of this perpendicular line is equal to, so 2y equals minus 3x plus 7. So y equals minus 3/2x plus 7. We divided by 2. So the gradient of the perpendicular line to PQ is minus 3/2. Okay. Gradient of perpendicular line equals minus 3/2. What's the question asking for? The question is asking for A and B. Okay. So it's actually asking us to think about the gradient of AB, of PQ. So the gradient of PQ must be, what would it be?
oh, 2 divided by minus 3. No, minus 2/3.
It's actually just 2/3.
Oh,
You flip it and you get
negatives.
rid of the minus. Okay, now this is the hardest bit. The gradient of PQ is also, so it's change in y divided by change in x, right? So what's the change in y? What does the y coordinate go from and to?
4 to b.
Yeah, so b minus 4. And what's the change in x?
8 minus 3.
So a minus 3, right? Yeah. And we know that equals 2/3. So now we solve the equation into, we basically make b the subject. That's what it's asking. It's not asking for an equation this time.
Okay.
Yeah, so this weird part of the question, find an expression, is just saying make b the subject. So far, what we did was we worked out the gradient in 2 different ways. We worked out the gradient as b minus 4 divided by a minus 3. And we worked out the equation in another way, the gradient in another way, by working out the gradient of the line and perpendicular of that. We equated them. Okay. So let's times both sides by 3. So we get 3b minus 12. And let's also cross multiply the a minus 3. Okay. So we get 2a minus 6. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Cross multiply the 3 up and across, and then cross multiply the a minus 3 up and across.
Yeah.
Then I get 3b equals 2a. Add 12 to both sides, so I get plus 6, and divide by 3. So I get b equals 2/3a plus 6/3, which is 2. Or I could have also written b equals 2a plus 6 divided by 3. Both are fine.
Yeah, I did that.
They're getting harder and harder now. This question says the straight line L1 passes through those points, so we can try and get the equation of that line L1.
L1 is just line 1, right?
Oh yeah, line 1, yeah. And then we can get the equation of line 2. Okay, that's the first part of the question, and I'll see if you can work it out. Check if you got it right as well. We need to work out the equation of line 2. So line 2 is the easy mark. We just have to literally do y equals mx plus c, where we set the gradient as
Something
-3. And the y-intercept as 0 because it goes through the origin. So I just write y equals -3x plus 0. That's it. Let's do the same for L1. So we get y equals mx plus c. We need to work out the m, which is change in y divided by change in x. So 2 minus 6 divided by 12 minus 4. So it goes down by 4 and across by 8. So -4 over 8, which is -1/2. Okay. So then I get y equals -1/2 x plus c, and I have to work out c by picking one of these two coordinates. If I was to sub in 12, 2, I'd get 2 equals -1/2 times by 12 plus c. So 2 equals -6 plus c. So c equals 2 plus 6, which is 8. Good. So the equation for L2 is y equals -1/2 x plus 8. The new thing we're learning in this question compared to the other questions is what to do when it says they intersect. Sometimes you'll get a sketch and you just have to look for where they intersect. But in a question like this, we have to solve them simultaneously. So we have to do simultaneous equations. So we have y equals -3x plus 0, and we have y equals -1/2 x plus 8, and we have to do simultaneous equations. So if we minus the two equations from each other, we get y minus y,
0.
3 minus -1/2 x, so
0.5.
3.5x, and 0 minus 8, which is -8. So therefore 3.5x equals 8. Oh, wait, sorry, it's -3 minus -1/2, so I made a mistake because I didn't see the minus there. Yeah. So -3 minus -1/2, so -2.5x.
Wait, why minus 2.5?
-3 minus.
Oh, so it's going to be an add.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 0 minus 8, which is -8. So 2.5x equals 8. So x equals 8 over 8 divided by 5 over 2, which is the same as 8 times 2 over 5. I'm rushing there, but that's keep, change, flip.
Yeah.
And ideally, you should just use fractions rather than decimal fraction, which I did. Then we get 16 over 5. Okay. And then in simultaneous equations, once we get the x, we go back to an easier equation to get the y. So we can just use y equals -3x. So -3 times by 16 over 5, which is -48 over 5. So P is 16 over 5 minus 48 over 5.
Okay.
That doesn't look right.
Mhm.
So then the first thing to do, like you said, is we switch that to the correct form of 2y equals -x plus 12. And then y equals -1 over 2x plus 12 over 2.
Yeah.
Therefore, since L and M are perpendicular because it's a rectangle, then the line M must be of the form y equals 2x plus c, because the negative reciprocal is 2. And also it's going upwards, we can tell that looks correct so far. But the y-intercept is the hardest part to work out for this question. One tip in any exam question, even for you, if you're stuck, go through line by line and check, literally tick it. Have I used this? Yeah, I used it because it was perpendicular. Have I used this? Yeah, I did. Have I used this? A and D, kind of. Not really. And have I used this? Definitely, I haven't used that. So now I have to use that. Yeah. If you're stuck on a question, it's just because you haven't used all the information. That's a good exam tip. We have to work out B. You'll see why after we work it out. and we have to work out E. So E is just the y-intercept. It's when x equals 0 on this equation, right? So y equals minus a half times 0 plus 6. So the coordinate is 0, 6. Yeah. B is when what is 0?
Y.
Yeah, does that make sense now?
Yeah.
So B is when y is 0 on that same equation because it's the x-intercept. This is almost like a year 12 level question, but it also comes up in year 10 and GCSE. They're just making things harder now. So when y equals 0, 0 equals minus a half x plus 6, and we want to know x. So 1/2 x equals 6, so x equals 12. Yeah, so 12, 0. Okay, now we know all this stuff. We know that this is 12, 0. We know that this is 0, 6, and we need to know this. There's an easy way to do it and a hard way to do it, same as gradient, right? In order to work out A, this is the easy way. The jump from here to here is 12. So the jump from here to here must also be 12. So surely this has to be minus 12. Literally that easy. This is what people struggle with midpoints. Just look at the jump every time. And then if the jump from 0 to 6 is 6, what would the y coordinate of A be?
-6.
An extra up by
12. So.
12, right?
Yeah.
And you can just picture it that way. But the mathematical way to do it, I wouldn't do it every time, but if you need to, it's if we called this xy, right? Then x plus 12 divided by 2 equals 0. You know this 0? This 0 is the mean of the x and the 12.
Oh, okay.
So x plus 12 adding up, divided by how many there are, 2 points. The mean of them is 0, and we solve for x. So times by 2, x plus 12 equals 0, so then x equals minus 12. Just for practice, quickly, let's do it for the y coordinate. So it would be y plus 0 divided by 2 equals 6. And we get the, but you don't need to worry about that for here. Okay?
Yeah.
Because you can just spot the pattern. Now we have to think back because this question is so long. Why did we do this? The reason we did this was to work out the plus c. Yeah, as soon as you have a coordinate on that particular line, this particular line here, then we're good. We can work it out.
Mm.
Okay, so we just sub in the point minus 12, 12. So 12 equals 2 times minus 12 plus c. 12 equals minus 24 plus c. So the gradient, the y-intercept is 36. And remember how I mentioned that if that line was to continue, it would be really, really high. That's how you can tell if your answer is correct or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So my final answer, and don't forget, after writing c equals 36, don't forget to write y equals 2x plus 36. Okay?
Yeah.
Next question. So the first step is just to turn that in the correct form.
Yeah.
Y equals mx plus c. So we get 2y equals minus 3x plus 17. So y equals minus 3 over 2, x plus 17 over 2. Really weird numbers as well. One thing that I would add that students probably are not going to do is I'll just sketch the graph so I can picture it. It's more of an A-level thing, but it does help. So is it going upwards or downwards?
Upwards.
Nope. The gradient is negative, so it's
Oh,
going
yeah.
downwards. And the y-intercept is quite high up. Okay? So I can just do that, just so I can picture the graph now. Okay? Because it's such a complicated question. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 17 over 2, 8.5, and then we know it's going down. That's all we need.
Wait. Okay. Wait. Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And then the straight line M is perpendicular. So what's the gradient of M?
2 over 3.
Yeah, it's the negative reciprocal. So the equation of m is y equals 2 over 3x plus c. But the line passes through A, 0, 2. So what's the y-intercept of line M?
Oh.
What is it?
We have to, so it's gonna be,
It's literally given to us. It's actually just 2. So normally you'd substitute it in 0 and 2. But if it's 0, 2, it's literally saying that the line literally goes through that. Does that make sense?
oh,
Yeah. You know when it's a 0, you can work it out and you'd get the same answer. But it's basically saying that the y-intercept is 2 straight away.
so if it's 0, 2, yeah.
Yeah, because it says it goes through 0, 2. 0, 2. Anything with an x or 0 is the y-intercept.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
So now we have to read all this text. And also we're doing that good thing which I showed you. We're ticking this off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
We're ticking this off. We're ticking this off. That's how you know you've answered the big questions. It's a good way of doing it. The line L. So I'll label that L, and I'll label that one as M, right? Line L and M intersect at C. Intersect means they cross. So that is point C. And we need to work out the area of A, B, C. So L crosses the y-axis at point B. A is this one here. Basically,
Yeah,
I'll just tell you the next step is to work out C, and then we can take it from there. So we need to get point C. But whenever it's the intersection of two lines, what do?
Subtract the equations.
Simultaneous equations. Yeah. So we have to solve this one and this one. So if I was to write them out nicely, I'd get y equals minus 1.5x. Oh, that's not going to work because the other one's a fraction. Y equals minus 3 over 2x plus 17 over 2. Y equals 2 over 3x plus 2. The y's are already the same, right? So we can just minus them. The good way to check if your simultaneous equation is done correctly, y minus y is 0. If I get that 0, I'm doing it correctly. If I get 2y, I'm doing it wrong. Does that make sense? Then we have to do 17 over 2. I'll just change that to 8.5. Fractions and decimals is difficult. If you know what to do, you're able to interchange them and use the easier version. Yeah, and I don't really remember if it's calculator paper or not. In this case, 6.5 is the easier way to do it. Yeah. And I have to do minus 3 over 2 minus 2/3 by myself over here. So always ask for rough paper or do it on the side somewhere. So I would make that into minus 9 over 6 minus 4 over 6. So minus 13 over 6. So we got. And then we solve x. So we get 13 over 6. X equals 6.5. Which was, okay, I'll just say that. Then we do 1 over 6, x equals 6.5 divided by 13. So a sixth x is basically 65 over 130, which is basically 1/2. So therefore x equals a half times 6, which is
12.
3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And we plug it back into an easier equation. They're all hard, but we have to work out why. Yeah. So let's just take the top one. So we get y equals minus 3 over 2 times 3 plus 8.5. So y equals minus 9 over 2 plus, so I remember that was 17 over 2. Add them up and we get minus, no, not minus, 8 over 2, which is 4. So the coordinate is 3, 4. Yeah. I'm going to see if you can get this part. So we worked it out as 3, 4, and it looks accurate, right?
Yeah.
We know that this is 2, and we know that this is 8.5. Yeah. And we know that this is 3. Yeah. What is the area of this triangle? So yeah, it's stressful and a difficult question like this, but it's just basics. So half times base times height. The height is 3. Yeah, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
And the base is from 2 to 8.5, so 6.5. So we just do 6.5 times 3 times a half, which is if we change that to 13 over 2 times 1 over 2 times 3 over 1, then we get 39 over 4, and that's the answer.
Oh.
Which is what you got. Perfect. So the first thing I've done is just drawn a sketch, and then I'm just gonna try and label where M would go. So between P and Q, I'll just mark a point M, and N is between Q and R, so I'll mark a point N. Okay, so that probably implies that we need to work out what M and N are at some point. Okay, and then the question just says prove that MN is parallel to PR. So what's the definition of the mathematical definition of parallel?
Right. Mirroring.
Same in this context or in the equation of a line context? What does parallel mean? They have the same
gradient.
same gradient. So the question is indirectly asking us what?
How
How do we prove that MN is parallel to PR? How do we do that?
MN. You first find the equation of MN.
There's a quicker way. We just have to work out the
gradient
of MN, and then we work out the gradient of
PR,
PR, and then prove that they are
parallel.
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in order to work out M, right? It's just the midpoint, so -3 plus 1 divided by 2, which is -2 divided by 2, which is -1. And that looks like a -1 as well in my nice sketch. And then the midpoint of the 6 and the 4, the -6 and the 4. Also, there's another way you can count halfway between -6, -5, and do that if you're stuck. But anyway, -6 plus 4 divided by 2, the mean of those two numbers is -1 as well, right? So M is -1, -1. Same thing with N, but it's easier. The number between 1 and 5 is 3. I'm not going to do any working out. Yeah, and then 4 minus 2. 4 plus -2 divided by 2 is 1. So that's 1. And it looks halfway between anyway.
Yeah.
So it's easy to tell you're going on the right path. Now I have to work out the gradients. Okay, the gradient of this line and the gradient of this line in any order. So I'll do the gradient of MN. Gradient of MN is 1 minus -1 divided by, yeah, so from them two. And then divided by the horizontal change, 3 minus -1. So 2 over 4, which is 1/2. Now I'll do the same for PER. So for this one, we're just going to look at the difference between that and that. So we can just see that it goes up by 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
So gradient of PR, we could do -2 minus -6 divided by 5 minus -3. Or we can just see it goes up by 4 and across by 8. So it's also a half. Same gradient implies parallel. So they've given us a sketch. In the harder ones, draw a sketch yourself based on the coordinates. It makes it easier. So a DB is this one here. And it's already given us the equation in a nice form. The gradient of this is 1/2. but we need the equation of AC. If it's a rhombus, I'm kind of assuming, which you shouldn't do in maths, but I think there's a fact which tells us that they're perpendicular, right?
Yeah.
So if they're perpendicular, the gradient of AC would be the negative reciprocal, which is -2. So we have y equals -2x plus c. In order to work out the plus c, you just sub in any coordinate on that line. And we know that A is 5, 11. So 11 equals -2 times 5 plus c. 11 equals -10 plus c. C equals 21.
Oh,
Silly mistake.
yeah.
I knew it. And then writing the answer properly, y equals -2x plus 21. There's an easy way for you to tell if you've done it right or wrong. Look at how high it is. It wouldn't be 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so because that mistake is the exact same mistake I would make. But the point is you could see it. So you can see that it's very high up.
Mm.
Yeah.